Well, hello, everybody. That's right. That's right. It's a surprise. It's another episode that didn't take me a month or 2 months or even 3 months to do. So we're going to count that as a win. You remember the time, remember back in the olden days, and this is where you would put in a harp sound effect. This podcast had a budget, the harp and the dream sequence. Remember back in the olden days when I would do 2 episodes a week? That was what a glorious time that was. That was when I was still in college, my senior year, and I had so much time on my hands I could pump out 2 of these a week. And things ain't like that anymore. But we're back. We are back. And what brings you to us today, Manoli? Oh, what doesn't? I've started to notice things again. There was a while there I was like, what am I going to talk about? My life's boring now. All I do is work, and I work, and I work, and that's pretty much it. But that's not even that true. You can notice things anywhere. That's how it goes. But yeah, I am glad to be talking to you again. How is everybody doing? Oh, I'm doing fine, Manoli. Well, that's good to hear. Oh, Manoli, things are terrible. Well, I'm sorry to hear that too. Let's hope this podcast brings a little levity to your life. How about that? How about that? I tell you, this sauna thing is really working out. I've started doing this now a couple times a week, maybe 3 times a week, and it has been wonderful. The sauna is great. You go in there and you sweat. You sweat everything out. You sweat like a dog. And you sweat out all the stuff that you ingested. I ingest a lot of crap. Mostly good things, but a lot of crap ends up there too. Physically and mentally. And what it does is that you just sweat it all out. It's like the great cleanser. You come out there, it's like you just came out into a whole new world. And you know what else I like about it is that it takes you somewhere else. I like things like that. I like to go other places, because you get in there and you kind of just zone out. I usually watch a TV show or kind of sitting there just enjoy the feeling. Nobody talks to you. No, you like people. I don't know about all that, but nobody talks to you in the sauna. I'm one of those people. They say you're extrovert and introvert. It's like, well, I would consider myself an extrovert, but I also really cherish the times when I don't have to be on for people. I'm never on for this podcast. I mean, you guys just you get off. No, I try to be on for y'all, but you always have to be on, right? Because you have to behave with a certain amount of decorum and in public. But then sometimes I just want to be off. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to think critically. I don't want to have to worry about what I'm going to say next and how I'm going to look and what I'm going to wear. I just like to be off. And the sauna is the ultimate off experience. You can't do anything when you're in there because you're sweating. And the heat builds up and it's wonderful. And there's this light in there. It's an infrared sauna. And there's this light and it's like you just bathed in this ultra infrared light. It's really something. Really something. It really takes you out of the day to day. And I've quite enjoy it. So I don't know why I didn't start doing this earlier. This has been a wonderful thing, and I'm very happy with it. The sauna. Maybe I'll do an episode from the sauna. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know if my mic can go in there. It might start melting, and technical difficulties, and we don't want to cause a fire, so that might not work. But we'll see. You'll get a whole nother dimension to the quote unquote mind that I have. It's really. I tell you, it's something. It's a miracle I could get up in the morning every day. It's a miracle I even remember my name and how to get dressed. I need all the help I can get. There is nothing. I put on a big talk and I try to do all these things and say that I'm interested in this, and that. And I tell you, people, there just ain't nothing there. Ain't nothing there. It's just. Sometimes it's just like the emptiness of space up there in my brain. Anyway, what was I saying? You see what I'm talking about here? You just go off and that's it. That's it, people. Oh, you know what's coming up pretty soon? Baseball season. Oh, and the collective groan from my fans. It's that they really hate. a lot of y'all really hate it when I talk about baseball, and I don't understand why it's such an issue. Well, I have a variety of interests, you know. I can't just talk about the same things over and over again, even though I usually hit on the same number of topics, you know, pretty regularly. I have to talk about singing, I talk about restaurants and bars and things I notice and people who are you know, say interesting things to me, and my playing experiences. But and then baseball is one of them as well. But you know, I have a variety of interests. You know, I have I have all kinds of things that I like and things that I do. I like sports and I like singing. You can like both. Why can't I talk about both? I like to talk about the weather. I like to talk about eggs. You know, that's another topic. The topics are endless. It really is. You know, this is a show that just you never know what you're gonna get. But baseball season is coming up, so just get ready for it because when it starts up, I'm going to be talking about it. And you know, if you don't want to hear it, well, you know, this is my podcast, so I guess you know I'm not getting paid for this, so yeah. You know, it's interesting how the priorities shift when you are getting paid. Then you start caring about, oh, what am I going to talk about? How are you going to please the audience? You know, you take it or you leave it. You take it or leave it. I am what I am. It ain't changing, folks. It's been 24 years, and that's about it. There's really nothing else to say. Um, I was so I did go out this past weekend, which I hadn't been out really in quite some time. I don't get out as much as I used to. When I say out, I mean like to a bar or something, but I don't go out like that as much as I used to in college. I was out, you know, 3 days a week sometimes, and that was experience, but not so much anymore. They'll have to be on. And anyway, but I did go out twice this past weekend. It was Friday night. My friend Nikki, Nikki is moving. She's moving to Savannah, which is not that far, but we had a going away party for her anyway. You know, any excuse to go out, and we went and had dinner, and then we went to this place downtown. It was interesting. I had never been there before, but it was a bar, and it was kind of open air, which was kind of cold out, so I wasn't really thrilled with that. But then again, it was kind of quieter outside. You know, I'm getting older, and you walk in and you're like, "Is it loud in here?" And it's just, you know, I don't know. That kind of scene with I want to be able to have a conversation. I'm not a big dancer. Dance is not really my thing. I'm a shorter guy. I get swept up in a crowd. I can't even move. You can't even see me. If I get in a situation where it's just a bunch of people standing around, quote unquote, dancing, I lost. That's it. I mean, I could kind of enjoy it for its own thing, but it's like, well, that's the end of my night because I can't talk. I can't see anything, and well, I guess back to the bar it is. But anyway, but no, I guess you know there was a benefit to the fact that there was the outside, and they did have a heat lamp, which was nice. A couple of heat lamps actually, so we got to give them some credit over there. It's interesting. They played the same songs that I heard all through college. I mean, we have been listening to the same songs over and over and over. I can't even say the names of them on the show, but it's the same songs over and over. I mean, it's like that early 2010s, you know, late 2000s, early 2010s kind of music, you know, some of the music from that area. It's like we never left there. Very rarely do they actually play current songs, which I don't really care about. I mean, my in my free time, I listen to stuff that was usually at least 20 something years old, probably more 30, 40, 50 years old, but I digress. And sometimes, you know, 400 years old, there's that too. I mean, we've been listening to the same songs for a while, but anyway, it's that important, Manoli. No, did you have people don't think about this like I do. I think about things, I overthink things. Is really what it is. I did meet a kindred spirit though at that place because I went to the restroom and I was washing my hands, and the guy behind me was taking so long at the hand dryer, the air dryer. What have we devolved to? This is really interesting stuff. He was taking so long, and he said, "You know, that thing is not powerful enough." I said, "You know what? And I tried that. I was like, you know what, you're right. And I found him outside. I was like, you know what, that hand dryer really sucks, man. He's like, yeah, I told you. It's not. They don't. They need to pump more electricity into that thing. And that was a kindred spirit for somebody to complain about the hand dryer at the bathroom of a bar. That is somebody like me. You don't find many people like that. These are the things that I noticed. So I was impressed by that. I forget that guy's name. I can make friends. With pretty much anyone. So we bonded over that, complaining about the bathroom situation. What does this show come to? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I had a couple Moscow mules, and by a couple I mean, maybe one. uh, I went to one bartender, and I mean they gave you nothing. I mean it was just a bunch of ginger beer. I'm like, well, that's not good. And I went to another bartender. He gave me a real drink, so I kept going back to him, even if I had to wait longer. Give me, just a real drink, please. That's all I ask. But anyway, that was an interesting experience. I got home around 11. Yeah, it was like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, well, it's time to go. And I'm like, man, I used to close the places down. What happened to you, Manoli? Where did the spirit go? And it's like, well, I'm not really having fun anymore. I can't talk, can't hear anything. The bathroom hand dryer is no good, and I'm tapped out. That's it. I was there for probably 2.5 hours, and that's really all I could take. And then the next night, so that's kind of like a loud music, club atmosphere. The next night was a dive, which I kind of prefer, but that has its host of problems too because I like the fact that it's more laid back. I can have a conversation with people. I like when I see my friends. I kind of like to talk to them. It's more my thing, and I kind of like that. But that has problems too because you get all. I mean, listen, you get all kinds of people anywhere. But when I first walked into the place, I went up to the bar to order a drink, and there was a man next to me who clearly was a regular. Clearly had been there for a while by the time I showed up, and he looks at me, and goes, "Hey man, how was jail?" And I'm like, "It was fabulous. Thanks for asking." How was jail? What? Where did that come from? I've never been to jail, never been arrested. But I just went with it because what else can you do? You really think I'm gonna sit there and try to explain? I ain't go to jail. I was like, it was great. Thanks for asking. I did have a good time. But then, the other thing about those places is that, I don't like to dance, but I really don't like to shoot pool either. Pool was never my thing. I'm not a big games person. Like I like to gamble. Wow, Manoli, you really you like to gamble anyway, but I like to gamble, but as far as like pool and darts and that kind of stuff, I don't like that. Shuffleboard, but I don't need to do this. I don't need all that. I mean, it's like, and then people, they're like, you want to have game night? I'm like, why? Why do we need game night? Board games and whatnot. I mean, sometimes, yes, with the right people, with the right atmosphere, but most of the time it's just like, but, I'll do it, but yeah, everybody else was standing around shooting pool. I mean, not everybody, because not everybody played, but it's kind of like you just got to stand around, and then people are shooting pool, and you kind of stand around and you talk about things, and how's work, man? And oh, it's good. And where are you at? And oh, I'm doing this. And oh, I'm doing that. And yada 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 yada. And yeah, that's kind of it. Mentally, what do you like? You don't like it when it's loud and a bunch of dancing. You don't like it when it's just shoot pool and whatnot. It's like, what do you like? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I like. I like certain aspects of certain things. That's really about it. I mean, I like what I like. I really like. That's the thing. I like so many things, and everybody always says, "But no, you're too much of a your standards are too high. You're too much of a snob." And it's really not that. I just happen to like things that are good. I mean, that's really it. That's really it. The things that I like are good, and the things that I don't like are bad. That's really what it boils down to. Because obviously, I'm the ultimate arbiter of quality and truth and these things. At least that's what I like to think to myself. But I digress. What else do I have? What else do I have? on this list. Yeah, yeah. And the other thing about going out is, once people get a few drinks in them, not me, of course. Once people get a few drinks in, they start the drunk talk, and it's like, I'm kind of like, I'm not a big like. I don't know if you could tell. I'm not the most affectionate guy on the planet. I mean, I love my friends and I love my family, and they know that. But I don't need to gush over them. Some people, when they get drunk, they're like, "I love you, man. And whoa, we've been through so much together, bro." And I'm like, "Oh, get off of me! Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" Oh man. I mean, when that starts up, I'm like, it is time to go. The drunk speak, when the I love you speech. I love you guys. I love you so much. Yada, yada, yada. And it can be funny for the first, 37 minutes. And then after a while, it's kind of like, I got to get out of here. And it's like, oh yeah, I love you too, man. Oh, I really mean it. And yada, yada, yada. And blah, blah, blah. And I mean, God bless them. But oh man. Oh man, I've sat through a lot of those, and I've about sat through enough. It's like, you know what? If you love me so much, that's very nice. I am leaving. I love you too, but not like that. Um, oh, Manoli, why are you such a grouch? I don't know what happened to me. Just an angry man with the podcast. That's really it. That's really it. I have a funny story though. I went to get my hair cut the other day because it was time. My hair, the thing with my hair is that it doesn't really grow long. It kind of just grows out. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's kind of like a helmet. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. It gets bigger and bigger. And, I see some people that have, long hair, wavy hair. I mean, I kind of do, but I also don't. And it's just like growing out my hair has never been an option for me because it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it looks like I'm wearing an astronaut helmet, and I just don't like that look. And not only that, I have this cowlick in the back. It gets like this bump, and it's kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but I have to get my hair cut pretty regularly. It grows really fast. These are nice problems to have, I will admit. I don't, at least I have, a good head of hair, I would say. It's one of my strong points. It had nothing to do with it, but thank God for that. But anyway, I have to get it cut pretty regularly. And I go to this one place, and mostly because they give you a scotch when you get in there, and I always like places like that. Oh, you're one of those people, Mel. He's like, yeah, you know what? I will do the shampoo. Thank you very much. I'll take my free little drink. And the place I go to has doers, which is pretty good by my book. And I will take my free drink as I wait. Yeah, I'll get there 10 minutes early to sip on this and enjoy it. Because then when you sit down with it, you got the sheet over you, whatever they call that thing, and then you're trying to like sneak a sip of it, and then hair gets into it. So you have to finish it before you sit down. And then I did, and the woman was like, "You're meant to sip that." I'm like, "Listen, Heidi is her name. She's very nice. I like Heidi very much. She's a lot of fun. Like, Heidi, listen, I've been through this a lot of times, and I start going into it. She kind of stares at me blankly. I'm like, you know what? Never mind. It's just trust me on this one. She's like, okay. And anyway, we get along. She's nice. Anyway, but I sit down and she's talking about how her hearing's very bad, and I'm like, well, you seem to be able to hear me fine. She's like, have you ever heard yourself speak? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, your voice carries so loud. When you walked in here and you said hello to the receptionist, my client almost jumped out of his seat. I was like, well, I'll take that. I'll take that. Sometimes somebody told me one time I had the voice of 100 men. And I was back in high school, so now it's got to be at least 200, maybe 300 men, maybe even 1,000. So I like being loud. It kind of helps when you're in those loud scenarios at a club or something. You have to talk to people. You have to scream what you're saying, which is always very pleasant. But the other thing is that I don't know. I like being loud. That kind of made my day, honestly. The fact that I kind of scared the person that she was working on before me. I kind of like that. When you're a shorter fella, you take what you can get. Anyway, is it better to be feared or loved? And I say, well, why not both? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know, they some people call me, you know, Machiavelli. Some people call me Manoliavelli, and it's kind of a, sometimes you have to tap into that, you know, when you're dealing with certain people. But I'd like to be loved more than feared. Nobody fears me. I'm like a ridiculous joke at this point. But anyway, you know, we like to think that, you know. But I'm a merciful. This is a benevolent dictatorship on this podcast. You know, I'm in charge, but I'll be nice about it. Mostly, mostly. Um, another funny story. I'm in this group on Facebook. Oh, here come the old man jokes. Old man Manoli on his Facebook. Anyway, I'm in this group on Facebook for conductors. You know, because we can't go one podcast without talking about music. But let's talk about music. It's not really about that. It's more about what happened. You know, I mean, it's like called historical conductors before the year 2000 or maybe 1980. I don't know what. They picked some arbitrary year. This is the thing with these groups. They never make any sense. There's one called Forgotten Opera Singers, and then it's kind of like, well, if they're being posted about, they're not really forgotten, but you kind of have to just go with it. Anyway, this is historical conductors, and there's some guy on there. I think his name is Alejandro, and he posts like these. He doesn't post pictures of conductors or recordings. He just posts like Herbert von Karajan, great conductor. Yes, thank you very much. We know that, but you know, one or two of them is fine. He posts probably at least 12 a day. It's like Claudio Abbado, great conductor, and then he says, but Wilhelm Furtwängler, legendary conductor. So he has this made up arbitrary like tier ranking where you could be a great conductor, but you're not legendary. And I would disagree. I would think Claudio Abbado is one of the legendary conductors. He's probably one of the top 10 in my opinion, but I don't really try to get into it on Facebook because it's just a losing battle. So I just kind of look at these posts and I'm like, you know, you know, it's just your opinion, Alejandro. Nobody really cares. And B, it's like, I don't understand this tier ranking where, you know, one can be a bad conductor. And some of the conductors that he says are great. I'm like, are you sure about that? Because I would disagree. But like I said, it's just my opinion. I don't comment. But, and yeah, I wasn't the only one getting annoyed by this. I actually ended up blocking the guy because I about had enough. This is what I do. If somebody annoys me, they either get muted or they get blocked. I just don't have the patience for it. I'm sorry. I go on there to see what I like to see. I mean, Alejandro, I'm sure you're a nice guy, but you posted too much, man. And there wasn't like a picture. It was just a bunch of words on like a blue background. It's like a big eyesore on my feed. And at one point, people got so annoyed with this guy that he posted something. He's like, I will refrain from posting anymore. These posts are not welcome and they are offensive. And I didn't say anything, but I was kind of happy about it. And somebody in the comments said, oh, thank God. And I was like, oh, man. Poor Alejandro. And he started posting, and I'm like, well, that's it. You're blocked. That's it. Nice guy, I'm sure, but you're blocked. I've had enough. I don't need to hear any more about which conductors you like and which you don't like. It's like, I mean, whatever. I just thought that was funny. They weren't the only person that commented like, oh, thank God, it's over. And it was just, people are so mean. I mean, I'm not the nicest guy in the world. I try to be, but I'm not always the nicest, you know. I really do try to be very nice, but it's not all. I just have thoughts, and sometimes they escape, you know, the filter. But like on this podcast, but some people are so mean, man. It's just, it makes me laugh, and I'm just like, oh man. If you can hear my voice, it sounds like I got something going on. It's not. The issue is the allergies. The allergies are bad. And you hear me sniffling. I try to go back and edit out the sniffles, believe it or not, because I'm that much of a freak show that bothers me when I hear it in the editing. So I do edit this show, by the way. People don't think that I do. I do actually edit the show. So there you go. I'm sure a lot of people are like, this is an edited product. Whoa. Anyway, the allergies are bad. The allergies. And the issue with, I love living in Charleston, but let me tell you something about Charleston weather. it can go from 30 degrees to 77 degrees in the span of 3 hours. And that just kills my allergies because the flowers don't know what to do. This is very scientific. The flowers don't know what to do. They come to life and then they die again, and then they come to life and they die again. Every time that happens, my nose is like it's like on a roller coaster, and it's like the pollen just gets in there, and it makes things kind of miserable. I have to be honest. This time of year is always the worst, February and March, because like the weather goes up and down like a yo-yo, and then the flowers. Oh, the flowers. I blame them. I don't know if it's them, but I blame them. They just go crazy, and it takes very little to set off my allergies. So I'm like, oh gosh, I know as soon as I wake up, it's going to be one of those days. But thank God for Advil allergy medicine is all I can say, because I would not be able to function. But if you hear something in my voice, it's that. It's the allergies. Very prevalent here in Charleston. And then other things get set it off too. Cats sometimes. Not every cat, but some cats. If I pet it, it's a shame because I actually quite like cats. I mean, I like dogs too, but I like cats as well. You know, they're like, you can't like them both. I'm like, I like what I want to like. Get out of here. There's so few things that I like. Let me have both of them, okay? I like cats and dogs. Is that so bad? I like it for different reasons. Usually I can't pet a cat because if I pet a cat and I touch my eye, it's like it's over. My eye is out of commission for probably the next 47 hours. It's terrible. So I like cats, but I'm allergic to them. And if it's both, if it's a day in February where it's one of those, you know, you don't know how to dress because by the time you get out of work, it's going to be 80 degrees. It's really hard, especially if there's a cat around. Yeah. Yeah. What am I even talking about? I don't know. This is what happens when, things slow down for you. You start talking about cats and allergies and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I don't know what to say, folks. This is what we've devolved to. You got an extra episode. I don't even know if it. This is your bonus content. The least interesting podcast on the. I swear, I thank God for my listeners because I don't know why anybody listens to the show. Every time somebody tells me that in person, I'm like, really? You listen to my podcast? Really? Are you sure? You okay over there? But I guess I have some sort of charm to me. The Manoli charm. We put a trademark on that. That's what we did. No, I love my listeners, and I do enjoy doing this show. It's a lot of fun for me. Yeah, I should probably try to get some guests back on. I don't know when that's going to happen. That's kind of I usually record these late at night, and it's kind of hard to ask someone to get on. Hey, you want to get on my podcast at what time? Maybe 11. But we'll see, folks. I'm actually leaving town tomorrow. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving tomorrow. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. These vagabond shoes. I love that line. I'm going to New York tomorrow, and so I'll definitely have an episode about that. So I'm sure I'll have some juicy stories to tell. There'll be a lot to discuss. I'll have my best observant eyes on. I'll be people watching. I'll be walking around. I'll be eating. I'll be doing all kinds of stuff, seeing shows. A lot of stuff that I talk about. But yeah, I am leaving tomorrow. I'm quite excited. I should probably go pack. That song, by the way, New York, New York, that's like my go-to karaoke song. And the reason that I do it is that whenever I sing that song, I kind of turn into the Hulk. I think somebody told me that one time. They're like, when you sing New York, New York, you kind of turn into the Hulk vocally. I'm like, well, thank you. Then I sing in the Sinatra key, of course, which is always great fun. And what a marvelous rendition of that song that he did. And he was older then. That was in the 80s. He wasn't a very young man. And he just, I mean, that's one of my favorite recordings that he ever did. And it's a very obvious pick, I know. But sometimes, the obvious pick is really the great pick. It's okay to like the popular thing sometimes, Manoli. I don't like the popular thing. I'm very much a snob, but what can I say? I am what I am. I like what I like. And if you don't like it, that's just too bad. And like I said before, I like things that are good. And that's really it. And I think that's what. And we really try to bring an air of humility and to this podcast. No, I don't take anything I say seriously, please. Please don't take anything I say seriously. If you need to take it seriously, I'll let you know ahead of time. But on this show, especially, guys, this is like the other side of my brain that I don't get to entertain and probably shouldn't entertain in public. But with my tens of fans that I have, I feel honored to share it with you. I usually get a couple of dozen, a few dozen that listen to the episodes. So we do okay here for what we are. We're a small but dedicated group of people, and I love you all very much. Oh, you see, he ends on a good note. That way you forget all the stuff that he said earlier. He ends on a nice note. I love you all, my beloved fans, my beloved family, my beloved friends that listen to this show. Oh, I love y'all. Manoli loves you, baby. But oh boy, we better get off here. I think that's going to be it. Thank you very much, and have a good night.